So with poor controls being the #1 factor, we're going to bust some of the myths that we all think about internal controls. So, myth #1, that good controls start with policies and procedures, where in fact they start with a great control environment, starting with the board of directors. And we all know who our board of directors are. #2 is that they're taken care of by the internal auditors, and #3 by the finance, where in fact it's actually internal controls are owned by management, not internal audit, and they're integral to the business. Number 4 and 5 is that they're essentially negative and they take time away from core activities, where in fact it's to make things right happen the first time and every time, and should be built into the process, not onto, and it's part of our daily activities. And then that it'll, myth #6 is that it'll stop all fraud, where in fact it provides reasonable assurance. Now I had an experience with my son a few months ago. We went to the bank and I was so proud of him because he deposited money into his savings account, and then he wanted to go to Walmart and spend money on his Pokemon cards. And I was like, absolutely. So we went to Walmart. He bought this huge stack of Pokemon cards, and I was proud of him. He put money in his savings. He bought Pokemon cards. We got home and I'm thinking, that was a lot of Pokemon cards. I knew how much he made and his chores that he did and his jobs that I pay him, and I knew how much he deposited, and it didn't add up in my mind. It just didn't feel reasonable. And so I told my wife, my tip hotline. I told her, and we eventually found out that he had stolen funds from his siblings. That is an example of a lifestyle sign of fraud. Other signs of lifestyles are a wheeler-dealer attitude, divorce or family problems, or addictions or legal problems. That happens outside of the workplace. Some signs of inside the workplace: control issues, being unwilling to share responsibilities, having close relationships with vendors, and then this one, complaining about inadequate pay and not taking vacations. There's a bank clerk who never wanted to take a vacation, always worked. Well, they forced him to leave, and then during the 2 weeks he was gone, they found out he was skimming funds and he was taking cash and stealing from the company. So those are examples. Now, these signs don't guarantee that someone's committing a fraud. We know that. But all of us, because we spend so much time together, we know what's going on in people's lives, sometimes more than we want to know. But all of these are things that we can look for and we can feel, and we can understand kind of what's going on in people's lives. And just look for these signs. All of us are the front lines and can do things to prevent fraud. And these are some things we can look for. Now, affinity fraud, taking advantage of the trust of relationships. We're familiar with this, especially in the insurance industry. This is huge in Utah and in insurance. Bernie Madoff being a very big example. Trust but verify. Remember that that controls are in place for a good reason. Now I have a question. Who here thinks, well, what is the biggest way, the #1 way that frauds are detected?
Internal audit.
Oh, internal audit. You get a prize for giving me the wrong answer. Okay, that is not right, but thank you. #1 way is a tip line. That's how most frauds are detected, by individuals who provide a tip. #2 is management's review, and in third place, internal audit. So the ACFE said that managers and owners of small businesses should focus their anti-fraud efforts in the most cost-effective control mechanisms, such as hotlines and employee education and a proper tone.